All right, hey everybody, again, Brendon Burchard, founder of Experts Academy and author of the #1 New York Times bestselling book, The Millionaire Messenger. And welcome to this free video training series. I'm so excited for this series to teach you, again, how do you share your message with the world and truly monetize your life experience, your work experience, the knowledge, the wisdom that you've gathered throughout your lifetime that can inspire other people and instruct them how to improve their lives or grow their businesses. So in this first video, I'm going to share with you 10 essentials for a multi-million-dollar expert empire. What must you have in place? What must you know? What must you do to earn all this revenue that you hear about all the time, that these authors and speakers and coaches and seminar leaders and online marketers and these big-name gurus are doing to earn a real revenue and, yes, to change the world too. And if you know my story, you know, it's been an uncommon story, I would say, in a lot of ways. But fortunately, since I've been teaching this, we've empowered tens of thousands of entrepreneurial experts around the world to start sharing their message and building a real revenue base and a real fan base, just teaching what they know. And I know for a fact that if I just sat down with you for 5 minutes, we could figure out something that you could be a highly paid expert on. It's just that right now, you're discounting your knowledge. You're discounting your life experience because you think, well, who wants to hear from me? I know my #1 challenge right now is that people hear me and they say, well, I'm no expert, Brendon, and they stop listening. But I think by the time we get through these 10 things, you'll realize, no, in fact, you are an expert in an area, or you can simply become one more quickly than you ever imagined because of the knowledge and the wisdom and the information available to all of us today, and the different roles that you can play as an expert. And, you know, look at my own story. Here I was this struggling 19-year-old kid at one point in my life, and I had an accident. I was in a dramatic car accident in a developing country. And in that journey that I went through with that accident and afterwards, I learned that at the end of our lives, we're all going to ask the same basic questions. We're going to ask, did I live, did I love, and did I matter? And I just wanted to share that story with the world. I just want to tell people, you know, at the end of your life, you're going to wonder, did you live? You know, did you live fully and vibrantly and fully charged? Did you love? Did you love openly and completely and compassionately? And did you matter? Did you make a difference? Maybe you didn't change the whole world, but did you change somebody's world? And those questions, did I live, did I love, did I matter, were so important to me. And I'd tell people about them. They're like, wow, Brendon, you should tell people these questions and you should tell people your story. And I thought, well, how do you do that? It's not like you go to college for that, right? I had no idea how to do it. And people would say, well, be a motivational speaker. And at the time, I was scared to death to speak. So that was not on the radar for me. But they said, well, you could write books and you could do seminars, or maybe you could be a life coach or a business coach or a consultant, or put your information up online. Start a blog. Oh my God, get on Facebook. And I was like, how do you do all of that? And more importantly, how do you actually earn revenue from that? Because again, if you have a message, the hardest part in the world is having a message and wanting to teach people something, but having no idea how to build a revenue base from that. So I started my journey, and I learned from the best in the industry just by modeling them, watching them, and ultimately befriending them. And like I said, I've been able to share the stage with and have on my stages some of the greatest legends in history of the industry, from a Tony Robbins and a John Gray and a David Bach to a Harv Eker to, gosh, the list goes on, Marianne Williamson and Debbie Ford and Wayne Dyer, and gosh, I've been so blessed to get to work with so many of those people, do great business with some of the greatest online marketers of our time, from Jeff Walker and Frank Kern to even Ryan Dice. And in that process of working with all of these people, I have really got under the hood of this business and started understanding, well, what does it take to get my message out there into the world, both online and offline? And importantly, what I learned is, how do you do it and actually build a real business doing that? And that's my hope for you, is that you can take what you know or what you can go out and gather information on, and finally you can package it in a way that you can earn a revenue from it and change people's lives with what you know. So again, this video series is all about that. So I hope you entered your name and email at expertsacademy.com so we can continue sending you these free video training series. Starting with this video right here, what are these 10 essentials for you to do this? Well, I'm going to get basic at the beginning, and then I'll go more and more advanced. And the reason I've decided to just stand here and talk to you is because I know you've seen all these big whiz-bang crazy videos this year, you know, with lots of sound and editing and flashy little characters running across. And I just want to say, look, let's just talk to people and break it down. You know, this needs to be your year. So I'm just going to bust down a very simple framework with these 10 essentials and make it very simple for you to understand. And at the end, I'll also illustrate for you just a very simple plan for how, if I was to begin again, how I would make my first $1 million in this industry. And many of you know, when I began, I had no idea how to do it. I was in a place of bankruptcy, and literally within 24 months had earned $4.6 million in sales. And I literally had no idea what I was doing. I was kind of bumbling through. Well, now that I've mastered it and figured it out, we do over $10 million a year. I have a staff of just 5 support team members. And I'll tell you what, I've had the most sane and normal lifestyle in the industry because I figured out the online component of how to do all this. Clearly, you're watching me online right now, and I've learned how to do this in a way that has really supported my lifestyle, but more importantly, enabled my mission to help inspire and instruct other people on how to improve their lives. You can do this same thing in this industry in terms of getting your message out there. And it all starts with these 10 essentials. Let's jump in. The first thing that obviously we got to do is make sure you've got a subject matter, right? I know it sounds so basic, but hold on a second. If you're going to become an expert, the number one question is, what are you going to become an expert in? Or what are you already an expert in? And I can share with you, I've trained the best people in this category. I'm the highest paid marketing strategist in the world for experts, authors, and thought leaders and speakers. And I can tell you with working some of the best, from Apollo Coelho, who sold 165 million books worldwide, to getting to share the stage with a Tony Robbins and seeing his business and being a good friend of his now and learning so much from him. I can share with you that you've got to pick your battles. You got to pick the areas in which you're going to teach on. So what's the subject that you want to start with? You don't have to have narrow it down to just one subject. Ultimately, you can have an expert empire on many subjects. But you know what? It's never which one. It's which one first. What are you going to put your flag in the ground on? What's the subject that you want to teach and train on for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, next decade or two? I was always interested in high performance. What helps people master their psychology and their physiology, their productivity, their ability to persuade. I was interested in leadership and marketing because I wanted to learn how do you start a movement and get a message out there in a big way. I was interested in how to learn to get your voice out there. So my 2 big brands became Experts Academy, getting your voice out there and starting a movement with your message and being paid for it, and also High Performance Academy, helping people become high performers. So how are you going to narrow down what your subject line is? Because I also have 5 other brands now, all in different topic areas, different audiences. But we got to start with deciding something for you. Now, I know you may be experienced in watching this. So my question for you is simply this. Which subject are you going to decide to own online in the next 12 months? Yeah, own it. Because ultimately, if you want to become the highest paid person, you've got to not just dabble in this and go, oh, I'm kind of interested. You got to get disciplined and say, okay, this little piece right here, this niche, this topic, I'm going to become a known expert in this space. And doing that is much easier today than you've ever imagined. And we'll show you that through these 10. So let's start thinking about this subject. What's going to be the subject you're going to own? Well, let's start with your passions. What is it that, for example, you love to learn already? When I started in my first entrepreneurial expert endeavor, which was teaching seminars and giving speeches, my topic was leadership. Because I found that, on my bookshelf, I had 10 or 12 or 15 different leadership books. I was fascinated by leaders. I'd study them. I'd listen to them. I wanted to become one and change the world. And I just learned and studied and studied. So what are you already studying? Because the fact is, frankly, if you studied a couple books at this day and age, if you read a couple books on a topic, you're leaps and bounds ahead of most people because they're sitting down watching TV and playing video games, right? People aren't reading and researching anymore. And we're talking about how reading and research helps you become an expert later on. But what are you already learning right now? What do you love to excel at? What are the things you already do great that you could teach people? To a 4-year-old, the fact that you can tie your shoes well is amazing. There's plenty of people on the road of life who have not excelled at the things you have excelled at. What are those things that you have learned that you could become a subject matter expert on? What else? Well, what do you love to, it's weird to say, it's a weird term, but what do you love to preach? What is it that you like to preach in terms of values to other people? What are the things you're always teaching people about how to live a good life or grow a good business? If you had a soapbox to get up to the world and say, hey, look, here's how to live a good life, what would you say to them? If you could say, here's how to run a great business, what would you say? If you could say, here's how to have a great relationship or a great marriage or be a great parent, what would you say? So these things that you would love to preach, I know it sounds weird to say that word, but really it's just communicating and sharing values. What values would you love to communicate? Look at 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. The book came out in 1989. I think it's still on the bestseller list today. Why? It's really a book preaching a set of values and habits that can make people have more character, integrity, and yes, effectiveness in their personal lives and their business lives, right? They wouldn't use the word preach, and many people get weird when I say that, but ultimately he's sharing values. Ultimately, the greatest leaders of our time, Martin Luther King, right? Gandhi, Mother Teresa, these people were sharing values. They were preaching a set of values and a way to live life that people found meaningful, and that can be a true expert career. People say all the time, well, Brendon, you can't make money teaching soft topics. Really? Because High Performance Academy does over $1 million a year. So this idea that you can't make money in all these different areas, well, you can't make money teaching spirituality. Really? I think Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra are doing just fine last time I was over at their place. So what are you going to teach and what we love to preach? Well, what also do you love to make right now or in the future would like to make an income from? What is it that you really feel like, wow, maybe let's say you might be a very successful chiropractor. Well, why don't you become a subject matter expert in a sense that you teach chiropractors to start a business, to run a good business, to live a good life? Maybe you are already making an income from teaching marketing. Why not become a marketing consultant? Maybe you're already a marketing consultant. Why not become now an expert in teaching marketing to other people? Maybe you are an amazing executive at a big company. Why not teach other executives to become great executives as well? All you have to do is take your knowledge and information, package it into frameworks and systems and products, and offer that to the world, which we'll talk about. But that's some things to think about. My ultimate question and challenge to you is this. What is the subject that you are going to own in the next 12 months, no matter what category you've been playing in, no matter what your brand has been, no matter what topics you've been an expert in the past, what is it going to be for the next 12 months? What's going to be the next 3, 4, 5 years? Right? You've got to be more strategic in thinking about this, and I think that's one of the gifts that Experts Academy has always given is it gives people a more strategic way to think about this, not in terms of a quick get-rich scheme to throw up an opt-in page, but rather as a real career. You can have a real career making millions of dollars sharing your advice, your how-to information. We've proven it with tens of thousands of students. We've proven it over and over and over and over again with my own brands and my businesses because I'm the guy who's not just preaching and teaching this stuff. I do it every single day. I'm doing it with you right now, sharing my message and building a business. You can do this. Now, what else do you need to have? Well, you better have in place some stories. I know it doesn't sound, again, super advanced here, but guess what the world is driven by right now? Story. Guess what differentiates one brand from another these days? Stories. Guess what differentiates all of us experts today? Our stories. You know, we all have the same tools and technology. That's ubiquitous today. But what differentiates people is the quality of their stories, how they connect with people, how they explain who they are, how they're different, what value and service they have to offer to the world. And you have to understand that your thoughtfulness in developing stories is one of the most important things you can ever do. Well, gosh, what stories specifically must you have? Well, I'll share the first one with you is that you've got to have credibility. You've got to have stories which explains your credibility. And these stories can be very basic stories that explain different ways that you've had developed your credibility. And so if you've ever seen me teach Experts Academy or some of my other videos online, you'll see me talk about this model right here, that there are 2 ways, really 3, to develop and demonstrate your expertise, right? A lot of people say, well, Brendon, he's that guy. You know, whenever I get criticized, it's usually somebody who has never actually paid attention or watched these longer videos that I do, and they never understood that I'm not out there trying to say anyone in the world can become an expert, but I am out there saying everybody can become an expert if they do specific principles that we know build expertise and demonstrate that. So these 2 R's as an example here, to demonstrate your credibility, you can have 2 different kinds of stories. There's the story, the result story. That's the first R. The result story is What results have you gotten? If you're going to become an expert on real estate, well, your results story is how you've gone out there and you didn't know what you're doing, you figured out, and now you sell homes all the time, as an example. And you've gotten lots of results as that, and you've done a great job as that. But here's where I get criticized sometimes. I also say, if you're going to become a real estate expert, you don't necessarily have to have ever sold a house at all. And people say, what are you talking about? Oh my God, sacrilege. And I go, no, hold on. What if you just went out and you interviewed the top 20 real estate experts and performers in the world, and you codified what they taught? You broke it down into a system, into frameworks. Would you still be a valuable expert? Well, the answer is yes. Look at Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill was never rich himself at the time, but he wrote this book called Think and Grow Rich. He went and interviewed Carnegie and all of his cronies. He went and discovered the path to wealth, and he taught it through Think and Grow Rich, which is now one of our industry's most successful books of all time, right? So he had the reporter or the researcher's story. His story was, I've gone out and I've interviewed all the experts in this space, and here's what they had to say. So he had credibility in that sense because he was a reporter. Well, of course, if you can combine these two in your expert story positioning of credibility, that you've gotten results and you've researched other people, you're that much more credible. And this intersection between the two of them, between becoming a results expert and a reporter expert, is in the middle is another R, the role model expert. Look, we all listen to Oprah because she inspired us, because she was a role model for so many people around the world. In some areas she taught on that people listened to, she never got even results in there. But people would listen to her advice and her guests because she had credibility because of her fact that she was such a good role model, right? So when you combine when you have that intersection of getting results and researching and reporting on other people, and you're living a good life as a role model, you have more credibility than you could ever imagine. Make sense? Okay. The other piece here about your story is the story that you have to develop and demonstrate is your story of connection, right? Is the story of you explaining why you are like your audience. It's about developing a connection with, a rapport with your audience by helping them understand that, you know what, you've been through the same struggles. You've been through the same challenges, and if you haven't, you certainly have been in situations in which you can empathize and understand, right? And the stories that you have of connection are not what most people are going to teach you in this industry, so please take warning. Plenty of people in the industry say, well, go out and, be a chest-thumping, braggart and demonstrate all your results right up front. And it's like, yeah, you know what? Sharing your results is important. But you know what? No one wants to go to lunch or dinner with a braggart. Be somebody who is human and shares your own struggle. The greatest stories of connection and honestly credibility is the story of struggle. When I share my story, and I know I'm kind of teaching you what I do throughout this process too, but when I share my story at my live events about my accident and trying to get my own message out to the world, it's a struggle. It's a story of struggle. When I first began, I had no idea what I was doing. I struggled. I not only was frustrated I couldn't make a difference, but I remember a time when I'm working late at night trying to write my book, and I had to move in with my girlfriend at the time, and we're in this tiny apartment in San Francisco struggling to pay for food, let alone make ends meet in general. And we're in this tiny little apartment, and she snuck in late at night into the bedroom as I'm working on this tiny little table with my laptop, trying to get my message out to the world and trying to figure out websites and all this other stuff. And I remember watching her come in, and I had been using the bed as a bigger desk because my tiny little table I was on wasn't big enough. So on the bed, I had my files, and I had my bills, and I had all my notes for what I was trying to do. And she didn't want to disturb me, so she came in, she snuck and crawled quietly under the covers. And I remember looking over and seeing my lady sleep under the weight of my own bills and my own inability to get my message out. And that was a changing day for me. I thought, I will never, ever, ever again not figure out this money thing. I'd never figured out money before. Money has never been important to me. I'm blessed now to have succeeded at this at a speed and a level in which very few people in our industry's history ever did. I mean, to go from zero to $4.6 million in just 24 months and now do over $10 million a year doing this, There's not many people who've ever done that. There's specifically very few people who've ever done it by making $1 million in each of the 5 roles that you can monetize your message in: author, speaker, coach, seminar leader, and online marketer. And I made $1 million in each of those areas. And I'll tell you what, though, it only came from that struggle of having to figure out, how do I get my message out there, and being so dedicated to it. So I share that with you as an example of a story and a way to build towards credibility. Could you imagine if I started this video and it was all, I've made $1 million in each area as an author, speaker, coach, seminar leader. It's bullshit. And the people who are out there telling you to go out and brag and show just all these pictures of your money and the success, they don't understand humanity. They don't understand transparency in today's modern age. People want to feel you and trust you and have a level of authenticity with you. And to do that, you've got to be willing to show your scars and show the challenges you've gone through. It makes you human, it makes you more trustable, and frankly, it makes you someone they want to watch from, learn from, listen to. Yes, they want the turn in which you had your struggle and it became a story of success, or you've struggled and then you went out and researched people to break through. But at the end of the day, the ability for you to share those stories with just authenticity and passion and care for the people you are serving, that's what's going to differentiate you. I know I went on that a little longer than I imagined, but we'll go through these a little faster to move this video along. But this is important stuff, and you've got to understand this. Next, you've got to have your strategies, right? There's a couple different kinds of strategies. You've got your how-to strategies, and you've got what I call your high-performance strategies. And these strategies really differentiate you in the marketplace, and it's what makes people want to buy your stuff, frankly. What do I mean by that? Well, you can know your topic, and you can have your stories that explain you're an expert on it, but ultimately, you've got to have value to add to other people. And the way that you do that is by giving advice, giving them strategies for how to improve their life or grow their business in some way or another. And so you've got to have your how-to strategies. How can they do what you do, or how can they improve their life? Specifically, what are the 5 steps, or the 7 habits, or the 10 secrets, or the 15 ways to do X, right? What's that how-to stuff? And then ultimately, what's high performance? Not just how to do it, but how to do it with excellence to become one of the best at it. That's what makes you different. So if you're going to teach how to put up an opt-in page, that's one thing. But if you teach them how to put up an opt-in page that is a higher performing conversion and builds a higher performing brand and ultimately builds a reputation that helps them become one of the best in the industry, that's a whole different level. Right? And there's how-to and high-performance strategies in all these different areas, right? Many people, these are some of the most lucrative areas. Some people say, well, I'm not an expert on anything, Brendon. And I say, wait, if we sat down and I asked you, come up with 5 pieces of advice on how people can have success and sanity in their life, or how people can earn money or save money or deal with their money well, or have good relationships, or practice a good life and spirituality and growth. In each of these areas, almost any topic area you're going to address, you'll bring up these topics, right? I mean, if I'm going to teach you experts stuff about how building an expert empire, I'm going to talk about how to do it successfully with sanity. I'm going to tell you about how the money works. I'll tell you about how to develop relationships in the industry and relationships with your customers. I'll tell you about how to be a great human being and advance yourself and challenge yourself and grow your abilities and your knowledge along the way too, right? I'll talk about all those topics. But I really believe that what your number one challenge is that you, just like all of us, we discount our life story. And it's really unfortunate. We discount our voice. We think, who are we? And we don't realize what we have to teach. So I'd like to issue this challenge to you right now and set up a little bit of a competition here. What I'd love for you to do is this. I'd love for you to look at any area, any topic area you want that you've experienced in your life or you've gone through. If you don't know a topic area or nothing comes to you off mind, think of any of these. How people can succeed in their life, or how people can manage their finances, or how people can have great relationships in business or in their marriages, or how people can live a good life, or how people can grow. And I want you to think about a subject, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to shoot a video of yourself or of a screen flow where you just put together a PowerPoint presentation and you record your voice as you go through your PowerPoint and it kicks out a video. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to upload a video sharing just 5 success strategies in any area, okay, of you. Upload a video of you talking or looking direct to camera, sharing 5 success tips in any area. And I want you to upload it into YouTube or into Facebook. Then come back to this page and below this video, post as instructed your link to your video on YouTube or Facebook as instructed below. And here's what I'll do. If you'll go ahead and do that, we'll go through all those links and we'll watch all of your videos. Yes, I'll watch them personally. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick the 5 best videos in terms of your creativity and the authenticity and your passion and the quality of the video. And what we'll do, we'll pick those 5, and the 5 best videos, here's what I'll do for you. I'll give you an all-expense paid trip to my next live Experts Academy event. Many of you know that we've traditionally charged $5,000 to attend Experts Academy, the live event, and we've charged thousands of dollars for the online program. Well, I'm going to give you the live training. I'll give you 2 tickets to that. So if you are in the top 5. So all you got to do, shoot a video again by following the instructions below, post it on YouTube or Facebook, come back to this page, post your link down below there, tell me it's your entry into this competition, and the top 5, I'll give an all-expense paid trip to Experts Academy. How is that? And I'm only doing that to make you challenge yourself and prove to yourself that coming up with 5 success tips in any area is doable and is possible. Look at me right now. All I'm doing is walking you through 10 success tips for becoming a multi-million-dollar in this expert space, right? That's all I'm doing. I'm just going a little more than 5. You can come up with 5, post it below. I'm interested in seeing those. Let's continue. Next, what do we know? Well, gosh, if we're going to continue building a business at this and really earn an income, then we're going to have to create some sellable products. You can have all the knowledge and all the wisdom and expertise in the world, but if you don't have sellable products, we're dead in the water, right? So we've got to get you to create some products and programs for sale. Otherwise, you do not monetize the message. You might have a good message, you might perpetuate it in the world, but you're not going to build a business. And if you don't build a business and approach this as a career, you'll never earn the recurring revenue that will allow you to sustain your message. I'll tell you what, sharing your message gets a lot easier as your financial wealth grows up. The ability of you to succeed in the expert space is as you earn more income, you have more influence and impact. It's just the way that it goes. And the way that you make your difference is through all these different vehicles, these products and programs. You've got books and ebooks, audio programs, DVDs, webcasts, webinars, teleseminars, seminars, online courses, coaching, mastermind, speeches. At Experts Academy, we've always addressed all of those and talked about strategically how do you build a career doing these types of things. Well, you specifically need to know that all of this that we talk about is just passion and conjecture, frankly, until the rubber hits the road and you write that book, or you put up that webinar and you charge money for it, or you create that online course. My life changed. That's where I went from bankruptcy to $4.6 million because I finally put out a bunch of these things and bam, the greatest things happened. 1, yes, I had more income and influence and impact, but the way that I had those 3 things was that now I had vehicles out in the marketplace that were perpetuating my message while I was sleeping. You can do the same thing. 5th, what do you need to have? Well, you better have a sales process. You might have all these in the world. I know people with garages full of books. I know people who have the best, speaking keynote in the world, but they can't get booked. I know people who have incredible courses that they put up, but because they do not have online websites that accomplish these 3 things, they don't actually have a sales process. And no sales process, no money, no career, no expert empire. You got online websites that do a couple things. First and foremost, your websites must do one very simple thing, which is add value. You've got to add a lot of value to the marketplace in order for them to be interested in all of this, right? It wouldn't make sense if you just threw out a bunch of sales pages to people and started marketing them your stuff for sale, but you had never added value through your website, then they don't know who you are, they don't trust you, and your conversions will be low. So you've got to have websites that add value first and foremost. You've also got websites that capture leads. That means that you are collecting names and emails of people so that you can follow up with them, continually adding value and offering your products and programs and services. It should make sense, right? And ultimately, you got to have a website that does make money, right? I know a lot of people, and I've advised literally some of the world's most successful people in this space who just never understood that their website should also be making them tremendous amounts of recurring revenue. And we teach all these models at Experts Academy about how to do that. And this free video series, I'll share some concepts about that as well. But you've got to have a website that makes some money. Otherwise, what's it all for? And this sales process should be automated online so that recurring revenue is happening. I know with no questions that while I'm shooting this video and spending my day here at Expert Studio, that out there, millions of people are being able to hear about my message and my voice. And I know that tens of thousands are watching some other video I posted up online somewhere where I'm adding value, that thousands of people are giving me their names and emails, and that thousands of people are receiving in some sequence an offer of one of my products and programs. And that's why I'm confident enough to be able to stand here and create and have fun doing this, because it's just always perpetuating it. And you need to set up the same thing if you want to build a multi-million-dollar expert empire. Sixth, that should make sense this day and age, is that you've got to have a social presence online, okay? This doesn't take a lot of explanation. This is where you're going to be doing your Facebook and your blogging and your YouTube and your Twitter and everything else. And I'm not going to go into depth on that, but I will share this, that most people do not understand how to integrate a social presence online, because what they're doing is they're thinking, oh, I can just tweet and Facebook some quotes and it'll work. That worked originally. That worked originally. It doesn't work anymore. Your real use of social media in building a real lucrative social empire is by actually integrating social media tools into full automated marketing sequences online. We talk about that at Experts Academy, but make sure that yes, you've got to have Facebook, yes, you should be posting YouTube, but more importantly, you should have videos and web blogs that are enabled by Facebook comments, like you see, look at this page, video, Facebook comments below, so that people can socially interact with this video. That's important. Not that these comments should never die on the blog anymore. It should be this Facebook comments plugin you see below this video where people can interact, and more importantly, they can post something that goes to their wall, and this is all part of a campaign that allows the message to be spread about this video series. You should do the same in all of your marketing, that social media is just a social presence that enables bigger campaigns and bigger dialogues with your consumers. Do not hang your hat on any of these people out there saying, oh, make $1 million on Facebook. It's like, really? Because I haven't met any of those people who are just doing that solely. They've got to have all these other pieces in play that we've been talking about, okay? Next, we've got to talk about, if that's the sixth thing, well, seventh, we've got to understand that you've got to have a system and a structure in place to be able to accept payments and to be able to run your business. What do I mean? Well, the systems, as an example. You've got to be able to collect people, when he said add value and capture people's leads and make money. Well, to do that, guess what you've got to have? You've got to have a system that allows you to take their name, send them autoresponders and sequences. You've got to have a checkout system that allows them to enter their credit card information and store all of that information somewhere. In this industry, we just call that a shopping cart, right? And you can use oneshoppingcart.com, or you can use infusionsoft.com. Those are tools that we use personally. You've got to have systems to put up your web pages. You've got to have all of that thought through and trained on. But here's the thing. Most people get so scared about this, and it makes me laugh, because here's the deal. Facebook is as complicated as shopping carts are these days. What do I mean? Well, technology has advanced. If you're one of these people who say, well, I can't do that because the technology. Did you know I do all of my marketing? This page you see here, I built this. The Facebook thing there, I built that. Here's how complicated technology is today. You type in your headline, you upload your video, you click publish. It's like the people who are saying, well, I'm not good in technology, I don't know coding, are people who honestly haven't been online the last 2 years to realize that all the tools and the software that's available to us today is so simple that it's truly fill in a form, push a button, it's done. Now, that's different than it used to be. When I began in the industry, people were paying $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for web designers. Now it's like, are you kidding? Why would you even do that? And the only people who are doing that are those who don't understand the systems and the tools and the software available to us today. I am not some whiz-bang genius. People say, well, Brendon, came along and you must have certain things that allowed you to come along and do all these. Yeah, I have a lot of passion for what I do, but I'll tell you that one of the big secrets is that I've been blessed to have tools and processes and best practices and software and online things that are available to us today that weren't allowed to the gurus of days gone by. That's why this is the greatest time ever to be doing what we do. And you got to have a structure, obviously, in order to accept money and run your business. Like when I began, in my first year, I didn't have any assistants or employees or anything. I had made over $1 million. By the end of 24 months, I'd made $4.6 million, and I had one assistant. So the structure has even changed. It used to have to be, you used to have tons and tons of employees. You no longer need that because of the tools available to us online. So I hope that helps in thinking through these 10 so far. Now, I know some of those were basic, but I'm hoping to share some concepts with you that you got to make sure you got in place. And I think these last ones are a lot of what really makes this go for people and will make the difference for you. They're more sort of mental or success tips, but I know that they will serve you. And then we'll get to a simple model for how you would make $1 million doing this. So first or eighth, you've got to have self-confidence. This is sort of the first concept in sharing some of these ideas about you doing better in the space. And you've got to have a lot of self-confidence to look at the camera or to talk on the phone or to do a webcast or a webinar. And you just got to have belief in the value of your voice again. The number one reason more people are not doing this is because they don't believe their message or their advice or their life experience is valuable, but it is. You have learned so much in your lifetime, and you can continue learning so much, and that knowledge and that wisdom is valuable to people. That bundle of advice and how-to information, that can be your career. The only thing that differentiates people is those who believe they can do it. I remember driving in my car, when I was 20 years old and I was still recovering from my car accident. And I remember listening to Tony Robbins' audio programs, and he changed my life. And that's why I'm so honored to have him as a friend now, is because he changed my life. But I remember as I'm driving along, listening to his audios, that one day I'm listening to them and I thought, maybe someday I can be that voice. And I think that's what really differentiates me than a lot of other people, because I know millions of people have heard audio tapes in their cars or watched videos online. But it's those who say, maybe someday, I could be that voice to inspire people or instruct them to improve their lives. You can do all of this. You've just got to get the self-confidence. You've got to realize that, maybe right now you're starting small, but never let your small business make you small-minded. Never allow yourself to think small of yourself just because you haven't had great accomplishments yet. We all struggle. We all have our breakthroughs, and those are all valuable. Maybe you've had a family member who's gone through some trauma or turmoil, and you had to deal with them and coach them and help them through. Well, that can be knowledge that helps other people. And you can build a business by coaching them on that. You'd be amazed at the number of topics that you wouldn't even think that people would find valuable, but they do. You just have to have the belief in yourself that your message and your voice is valuable. And that's a big hang-up for a lot of people. But at some point, when people's lives change, it always comes to the point in which they say, this will be a new day for me. Today is my day. My voice, my life is important. I'm going to take back control, and I'm not going to worry what they say. I'm not going to worry about the critics anymore. One of my clients and friends, Paula Abdul, you've seen her on American Idol and The X Factor, and she's got that amazing career as a dancer and choreographer, an amazing singer and talent. And Paula has this great quote she said on my stage one day. She says, nobody ever grew up wanting to be a critic. It's the critics who have pushed you down, who you've got to pull back away from and say, no, what I know is valuable. I would like to share this quote with you it's on my phone that I look at once in a while, because the more you get out there, the more feedback you get from people. And sometimes it's not great feedback and it hurts your feelings and everything else. But let me share you the simple quote that I read once in a while that helps me maintain even my confidence as I'm going through this. And it's a great quote from Teddy Roosevelt, excerpted from his speech called Citizenship in a Republic, delivered at the Sorbonne in Paris, France on April 23rd, 1910. And here's what he said that I think might help you think through critics. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. I love that quote because it reminds us, you know what? Get in the game. Get in the arena. Be the person taking action. And those are the people who will know victory or at least defeat, but they will have lived and tasted life, not been at the scorn or the fear in operating their lives on the people who want to damage their self-confidence or criticize them. I'm hoping I can be here for you to say, look, you can do this, and at some point you decide to have that self-confidence. It's why I issued that contest challenge earlier on, the competition. Post a video on YouTube or Facebook. Challenge yourself. Give 5 pieces of advice that can help people on any subject. Post the link below. Get in the game. That's the only way you're going to build this. 9th, you've got to have self-discipline. It takes a lot to come into the studio today. It's a beautiful day out here in Portland, Oregon. I'd love to be outside playing in the sun, but I'm here. I've taken the time to make the discipline. I work at this. I block time to build products and programs. I make this a career. You know, the idea that you're going to come in and get rich and quick, you know what, some people, maybe that's their thing. And yes, I did, quote unquote, get rich quick. I mean, in 2 years to make $4.6 million, that's astounding. And I teach you everything I know about that at Experts Academy. However, I will suggest to you this, that a lot of that came from absolutely a wonderful work ethic and self-discipline to sit down and do this stuff. Let me give you the last piece and we'll get to the model. You've got to have a service mindset. You can make all the money in the world, which I'm about to teach you different models for thinking through that and doing that. But I will tell you what, if you don't have the mindset of doing this for the right reasons, people will feel it and they'll run from you. You've got to come from a place in which you want to help people, that you care about your student's journey, that you care about how people succeed teaching what you do. You know, a lot of people come in, they're so flippant, well, do this and do that. They don't actually give a damn, and those people never last. The people who last are those who are leading and living through their heart, who actually care about their students, who are doing this for the right reason, not to monetize and get rich quick. Yes, it's important to monetize. Yes, it's important to make a real financial success story out of yourself so you can perpetuate your message. But that's not what it's about. I would be doing this right now if I was broke. Matter of fact, I did this being broke for a very long time before I figured out all the strategies that I now teach. And when I figured it out, and I had that changing point watching my woman sleep under the weight of my bills, then I figured it out, then I made my $4.6 million. But in different areas I dabbled at it. I'd never taken it as a career. But in that moment, I decided to take it as a career and really go in it, jump in both feet. That's when I made my money because finally I was self-disciplined. And finally I understood how important it was to make my difference. I just got committed to it. And as part of having a service mindset, I cared so much about my students. I was willing to shoot these really long videos, right? But I was also interested in building a great support team so that customer service was important too. So that's the service mindset. That's caring about your customers and setting up a great customer service so that you know that they're doing a great job. So I hope that serves you in thinking through these 10 essentials for building a multi-million-dollar expert. I will tell you one thing about building this empire. Those 10 are the essentials. And many people who are watching this, I know you might be more advanced at this or maybe you're beginning, but even for those advanced people, I'll share with you this. Those are the fundamentals. Just like learning a good jump shot in basketball, you do it over and over and over again, and the depth and the degree in which you master that dictates your success. I've just really focused on those 10, doing a great job at them, and that's why I get to do this at the level I get to do this with a level of people. You know, meeting the presidents of the United States and working with the #1 business people in the world and the #1 gurus in the world, that happens because I've done these 10 things exceptionally well, and I focus on them with a matter of self-discipline to challenge myself to be the best that I can, and I want you to do the same thing. Okay, so with that, now where's all the money come from? I know people have been waiting for this, so let's talk about a model of how would you do this $1 million empire you hear about all the time? And if I could start over again, this is exactly what I would do, and this is what I advise people often because this was sort of the mix I started with anyway. So I'm going to pull out my little cheat sheet here, and I'm going to show you some numbers that add up to $1 million well, a little more than $1 million, obviously. And what numbers would you have to do this? So let's start with you creating a program as an example. This is all illustrative only. I'm not guaranteeing anyone's going to make $1 million doing this, right? I don't know your knowledge, skills, ability, passion for this. Certainly don't know your self-discipline. But I can suggest to you simply that this was my path, and part of this, following these types of ideas, helped generate my business when I began, and that ultimately it can be as simple as just setting up a few programs that are running over and over and over again, making your products and programs sell, that builds your empire. So with that, let's do an illustrative map here of how would one person hit $1,063,995 in 12 months, so that you're not wondering anymore, well, where are all these millions coming from that people are always talking about? Because our industry is guilty of talking about all this money but never showing the math behind how it happens. So let me share the math with my little cheat sheet here. Let's say you have a monthly subscription program. That means people subscribe to get your training, your how-to advice every single month. Maybe you mail them something in the mail that they're paying for it, or maybe they just get it online where they log into a membership access area and they download your stuff in that area, or they access it there. But let's say you're going to try and reach $1 million by doing just 4 things. The first thing will be a monthly program. The next thing will be a DVD product you ship to people's houses. The next thing will be a live event seminar, and the next thing will be a coaching program, okay? If you don't want to ship anything to people's houses, because this day and age digitally you don't have to, you can also make this an online course. But we'll just make sure that you understand the numbers to reach this $1 million number. Okay, so first, monthly. Let's say we're going to create a monthly program in which you're going to charge $67 a month. What's our path to hitting $1 million with this product mix? Well, guess what? You would have to sell 315 units at $67, and that each month, by the way. So you'd sell 300 people a month at $67. That would equal $21,105 a month. Times 12 months, that would equal for you $253,260. So check that out for just a second, by the way. That if you have 315 people giving you $67, just 300 clients giving you $67, 300, not thousands and thousands and thousands, 300 people giving you $67, that's $21,000 a month. Over the course of the year, that's $253,000. You see how this adds up really fast? And people say, well, Brendon, 315, that's so many clients. Okay, cut it in half. You're still at $125,000. That's not joking around. And that's why we always say that the expert industry is the most lucrative industry in the world. I mean, where else can you make so much money so quickly by making such a difference with your voice? This is it, right? So that's one program that's going to get you up to $253,000. Well, let's say you have a DVD course, or if you want it to be an online course, that's okay too. But let's say that we're going to offer this course at $297. So that's what we call a mid-tier price point. Mid-tier price point just means you got low-tier price points, which is cheaper products or entry-level consumer products. You got mid-tier, which is middle-level tier price points, and you got high-tier, more expensive, okay? So a mid-tier DVD program at $297, that's not much money. That's very low mid-tier for a DVD program. But let's say that you sold just 90 of those. 90 at $297 a month, or 90 a month, that would equate for you $26,730, okay? $26,730 times 12 would equal $320,760. Obviously, never ask a creator to do math. It's why I have to have a cheat sheet here, okay? I carry this around with me because everyone's like, how do you make $1 million? I pull this thing out and say, well, here that is, because I'll tell you, I'm not good at math, and I'm slow with the calculator. I just know how to make the money, and I hope that serves you enough. But here it is. So if you have a DVD program, all you got to do is sell 90 a month, 3 a day. So let me ask you this. If you had nothing else to do, and this was your career, could you sell 3 DVD programs a day? If you had nothing else to do in the 10 hours in a day that you would work, or 8 hours in a day, could you sell 3 by picking up the phone or sending out emails or doing social media and connecting with people? If you don't believe you could, then this is your problem, not this. You could absolutely figure out how to do this. I trained myself to figure out how to do it by myself. But imagine you're just selling 90 a month. Well, that equals 26. I mean, how much of a difference in your life would an extra $26,730 make a month? Well, you just have to sell, a couple of units a day. Over the course of a month, just 90. So this is where it all adds up. Okay, next, let's move on. I know I'm going on. Seminar. Let's say you want to do a live seminar. Well, if you're going to charge a mid-tier price point for a seminar, let's say $495. Well, if you got 505 people in there at $495, that would equate to you, well, gosh, you don't even have to have that. You just have a yearly. Let's say we're going to do it once a year, $249,975. So, wow. I mean, this is one of the reasons workshops and live seminars are one of the most lucrative things you can do in this industry. Check this out. All you got to do, you get 500 people in a room paying somewhere around $495. So let's just say 500 people at $500. You're up to $250,000. Why not 12 months out from now decide you're going to do a live seminar or workshop, right? That's what I did. I said, well, 12 months from now, that'll give me an entire year to get people. If in the course of a year, you can't get 500 people to sign up for a $500 program, and you have 12 months to do that, well then you really need to come to Experts Academy. I mean, we sell out, to give you an idea, I put 800 people in a room multiple times a year, paying $2,000 or more from 49 countries. I've got 9 live events I do a year that we've sold out for 3 years in a row. When everyone else is being challenged in the industry, we've been very blessed. Why? Because these 10 essentials that we just keep doing really, really well. But understand, if you're like, well, Brendon, that's so many people, 500 people, I couldn't do that. Okay, cut it in half. You got 250,000 cut in half. That's still 125 grand a year. That's not bad. Cut that in half. That's still, I can't do the math, but you follow the instructions. Next, coaching. What if you had, in your coaching program, what if you had a $1,000 a month coaching program? You had 20 people in there at $1,000. Well, that's clearly $20,000 at 12 months. That would be $240,000. Now, some people say, well, Brendon, oh my gosh, how could you possibly charge $1,000 to a client a month in coaching? There's dozens of models to do that. We teach at Experts Academy like group coaching models that really enable you to do stuff like that you would be shocked at, because the reality is most people, because they lack the self-confidence in who they are, and they've never learned anything about coaching, they don't believe they can do that. But any decent coach who has understood the process and understands how to add tremendous value to people and has gotten their mindset away from I have to charge by the hour like a therapist, but they understand the overall value that you could add to a coaching client through other products, programs, and services, both online and offline. Charging $1,000 is fairly straightforward. Well, you just need 20 people in there, you're $240,000. So I hope this is illustrative of just a map of understanding where all the money comes from, because when you add these 4 components together, we hit $1,063,995, just sharing your advice, your wisdom, through monthly programs, a product, a DVD or an online course, a live seminar, or coaching. Now, the reality is there's plenty of people out there making $1 million or more just doing one of these areas. I like to put a product mix in place because it helps self-perpetuate it. We'll talk about that in future videos, but I hope this serves you in just seeing where all the money comes from, because I think the industry in general, as it's learning and growing as an industry, we've got to be more transparent with how people can develop real careers, earn real revenue, real paychecks doing this, and do it in a way that's always service mindset driven and helps you build a real career, a real brand, and enables you to serve real people around the world. This is your time to get your message out there. Never in our history have we seen a time in which so many people are looking for how-to information and advice, that the whole world, where so many people are operating based on fear and uncertainty, and they're holding up or hiding out, hoping that the economy turns around, but they're all looking for guidance to improve their lives or go to the next level. And if you have any information that can support them on their journey, then you can have a real expert empire, you can build your career, and you can make a tremendous difference with what you know. At the end of your life, you're going to ask, did I matter? And one of the ways you will evaluate that is whether or not you taught other people, whether or not you mentored other people to have a better life. I say, why not make that your career? That is your challenge. That is your opportunity. And I look forward to helping you that with this free video series. And hopefully one day you can come to Experts Academy too. I'll tell you about how you can enroll in that program in future videos. For now, go out, create a video, post it on YouTube or Facebook, share 5 success strategies. Put that link below this video as instructed so that maybe you can win an all-expense paid trip to Experts Academy. I'd sure love to see you there someday. And I'll tell you what, as you finish this video, I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you thinking about your career. I appreciate what you're going to be doing. In the next video, I'll be sharing with you how do you kind of make all this work online. So I'll show you some examples of what you can do on the internet in terms of your web pages and your websites to perpetuate all of this, to get your message out there, and yes, to make money from it too. So I look forward to serving you. Until then, post some stuff below. Ask me any questions you have. I'll respond personally to the blog posts below. Until I see you in the next video, go out there every single day of your life. Live fully, love openly, and make your difference today.